The 4 temperaments are a great tool to understand yourself and your fellow human beings. If you want to delve even deeper in the 4 temperaments and use them even better in understanding yourself and your fellow human beings, then the personality archetypes are your means of choice. They are the subcategories of the 4 temperaments, and they reveal to you the strengths, weaknesses, motivating factors and needs of every person you meet. Enjoy! The 4 temperaments and their deeper level, the personality archetypes. The model of the 4 temperaments describes 4 basic types of people in a very simple yet precise model, thus allowing you quick assessments of your counterparts and therefore also providing swift solution approaches. Here is a short summary for you. The sanguine person is characterized by an easygoing attitude. You can easily recognize them by the fact that they like to change the subject, joke around, or distract in case of conflicts. You can win them for you and your concerns by sparking their curiosity, interest, and enthusiasm. The choleric person is by nature quick-tempered. You can recognize them by the fact that they tend to rant, become aggressive, and accuse in conflict. You can win them over to you and your cause by arousing their thirst for action or offering them space for it. Also by enabling them to carry out their own projects, to take leadership and responsibility, or to wield power. The melancholic person is characterized by wistfulness. You can recognize them well by their tendency to complain and being desperate in conflict. Since their drive is compassion and idealism, you can best motivate them by showing them visions or ideals in which they can see meaning, truthfulness, or a higher purpose. The phlegmatic person is sluggish by nature. You can recognize them well by the fact that they stonewall in conflicts, do not react or ignore the conflict. You win them over best by their sense of duty and their need for routines. Even very difficult personalities can be assigned to the 4 temperaments, and we also find helpful ways of dealing with them in this model. Particularly conspicuously difficult personalities often fit to what clinical psychology refers to as personality or behavioral disorders. For example, passive-aggressive and histrionic personality disorders belong to the sanguine temperament. Narcissistic and antisocial personality disorders, on the other hand, belong to the choleric temperament. If we understand the temperaments and look also at the personality disorders in each temperament, then we find different forms of extremely negative expressions. We can and should study these more closely to be able to deal with them in a better way. By doing so, we can find good solution approaches for dealing with these people in an optimal way. This may also help us better recognize our own weaknesses and thus to deal with other people more successfully. However, the famous psychologist Abraham Harold Maslow once said, "The study of crippled, stunted, immature and unhealthy specimen can yield only a crippled psychology and a crippled philosophy." Accordingly, we do not want to base our psychology and philosophy on the pathological forms, and therefore we resort to the psychology of Carl Gustav Jung and to the archetypes, the personality archetypes. This brings us to the subcategories of the 4 temperaments model, the personality archetypes. With the pure forms of the personality archetypes, we are able to look at the human psyche with all its resources and strengths in even greater detail. The archetypes are the basic patterns of human thought and action, which, according to Jung, originate from the collective unconscious. The term archetype originates from the Greek and literally means something like primordial imprint or main model. You can imagine the archetypes as building blocks from which our human psyche is formed. Archetypal structures are also found in myths and legends. In mythology, the primal human experiences are described. For example, we find the Oedipus complex in Greek mythology, where it was recorded as one of the archetypal basic patterns of human beings, long before it was formulated by the psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud. We find another example of an archetypal pattern in the mythological success structure, the hero's journey. So we use a model of archetypal personality structures that we find in myths and their legends, and as well in psychology and its clinical studies. The model of personality archetypes we use is based on the work of Carl Gustav Jung and is structured using the metamodel of the psyche according to Stefan Fiebig. How many personality archetypes are there? The model presented here consists of 14 personality archetypes, which can be assigned to the 4 temperaments. The personality archetypes assigned to the sanguine are the explorer, the equilibrist, who is also called Trickster, and the charmer. The personality archetypes warrior, king, and ecstatic belong to the choleric temperament. The personality archetypes assigned to the melancholic are the judge, the martyr, and the master craftsman. The personality archetypes that belong to the phlegmatic are the hermit, lover, and safekeeper. That's only 12 archetypes so far. The other 2 take a special position, as they are assigned to 2 temperaments. The personality archetype, the visionary, belongs to either the melancholic or the phlegmatic temperament, and the personality archetype, the guardian, to either the sanguine or the choleric. Just as the 4 temperaments are present in every human being as a disposition, so are the 14 archetypes in each person as a potential. They are expressed more or less distinctly from person to person and develop differently well. You can also imagine the personality archetypes like the basic colors, including black and white. All other color and shades of color can be mixed from these. Each person has their own variation of archetype expression and development. This corresponds to their personality or, in this example, to their own individual color. If an archetype is very well developed, the person has the full competence of the archetype. If, on the contrary, the archetype is developed in a very unbalanced form, then its pathological characteristics show themselves in the form of personality disorders. There are of course many different degrees of possible development between these 2 extremes. The metamodel of the psyche and personality archetypes according to Stefan Fiebig. A particular strength of this archetype model is the interconnectedness of the various models and factors within the consistent system. The metamodel of the psyche according to Stefan Fiebig. Among other things, it links the 4 temperaments and the personality archetypes, personality disorders, and the hero's journey. It can as well be used as a model for efficient communication for hypnosis, coaching, or psychotherapy. The metamodel of the psyche depicts the basic structure with which the 14 personality archetypes are simply and unambiguously defined and classified with their metaprograms. The 14 personality archetypes. In order to gain a first overview of the nature of each of the 14 personality archetypes, we now take a brief look at their competencies as well as their pathological forms of expression. For this purpose, we will summarize them by the means of the 4 temperaments you have already got to know in this video. The following personality archetypes belong to the sanguine person. The explorer.
Aha!
This archetype is one of your main archetypes when you are very open and curious, and when discovering and learning new knowledge and striving for wisdom are things that strongly drive you in life. The schizotypal disorder is the pathological form of the explorer. If you know someone who exhibits strange eccentric behavior or such an appearance, or someone who has unusual perceptions, for example, somatosensory disorder, or someone with strange views, who may have illusions, and who occasionally even has hallucinations or delusions, then the knowledge of the archetype of the explorer can help you to understand this person better. The trickster. If you can find an impromptu solution in almost any situation, possibly even unusual or ingenious solutions, and if you are emotionally unshakable and resilient, then the trickster archetype is one of your main archetypes. Its pathological form is the passive-aggressive or the negativistic personality disorder. If you know someone who is extremely slow or bad at doing tasks they don't want to do, or who is very irritable when asked to do something they don't like, then it is worth taking a closer look at the Trickster archetype, as it can be the key to understanding and dealing with this person. The Charmer. You're naturally enthusiastic and need a lot of diversion. You have both charm and humor. Then the archetype of the Charmer is strongly present in you. The pathological form of this archetype is the hysterical or histrionic personality disorder. Perhaps you know someone who displays very theatrical behavior with an exaggerated expression of emotions, or someone who has an inappropriate seductive appearance or behavior, or someone who always tries to be the center of attention. In this case, knowing the archetype of the Charmer can help you to better assess such behavior and to better understand and deal with people who behave in this way. The following archetypes belong to the choleric temperament. The Warrior. If you like challenges and competition, if you can assert yourself, especially in conflict situations, then the archetype of the Warrior is very pronounced in you. The pathological form of this archetype is the dissocial or antisocial personality disorder. You experience the not very much balanced form of the Warrior archetype if you know someone who behaves aggressively and violently without any sense of guilt and who is unconcerned and inconsiderate towards the feelings of others. The King. If you are confident and self-centered and like to take the lead, then the archetype of the King is strongly developed in you. The narcissistic personality disorder is the pathological form of this archetype. Do you know someone who has a grandiose sense of his or her own importance, who demands excessive admiration and preferential treatment, and who is exploitative in interpersonal relationships? Then understanding the archetype the King is the key to finding the right way to interact with this person. The Ecstatic. Living in the here and now. Often acting spontaneously and living out one's creativity? Do you recognize yourself in this? Then the archetype of the Ecstatic is strongly developed in you. The impulsive type of the emotionally unstable personality disorder is the pathological form of this archetype. Understanding the Ecstatic archetype can help you in dealing with people who show emotional instability, lack of impulse control, and strong emotional outbursts. The following archetypes are assigned to the melancholic temperament. The Judge. You are very critical and want to separate the essential from the unessential? Do you often deal with what is true or false or inaccurate? Then the archetype of the Judge is very strong in you. The pathological form of this archetype is the depressive personality disorder. Do you know someone who is melancholic or pessimistic, or characterized by hopelessness, and who has low self-esteem? With the help of the archetype of the Judge, you can find a good way of dealing with this person. The Martyr. This archetype is one of your main archetypes where it is important to you to be a good person, and when you selflessly take back your own needs for others and consciously sacrifice yourself for them. The self-defeating personality disorder is the pathological form of the Martyr. If you know someone who always chooses people and situations that lead to disappointment, failure or maltreatment, even though there are clearly other options available, and who rejects or invalidates all forms of support, then you should take a closer look at this archetype. The Master Craftsman. If you are always serious and contentious, and you have a sense of precision and detail, then this archetype is one of your main archetypes. The pathological form of the Master Craftsman is the compulsive or anancastic personality disorder. Do you know someone who is constantly dealing with details, lists, rules, order and organization, and who has great difficulty in delegating tasks and is completing them on time due to a too high demand for perfection? Then this archetype can help you to achieve good solutions with this person. To the phlegmatic temperament belong the following archetypes. The Hermit. This archetype is strongly present in you if you like to keep your distance from people and their emotional dramas. A further indication is if you like to analyze things objectively and emotionally neutrally. The pathological form of the Hermit is the schizoid personality disorder. Persons who are particularly cold and distant, who are unable to express emotions, who do not want friends or close relationships, and who clearly lack a sense of social norms and conventions, may suffer from this personality disorder. Understanding the archetype of the Hermit can help you in dealing with such persons. The Lover. This is your main archetype when love, friendship, and belonging are of the highest and most important value to you. You are always helpful and kind. The needs of those with whom you feel closely connected are the most important focus for you. The dependent personality disorder is the pathological form of the archetype of the Lover. Do you know someone who is often afraid of being abandoned and who leaves all decisions about their own life to other people? Then knowing the Lover as archetype can help you to understand this person.
No!
Safekeeper. Are you very sensitive and very loyal? Do you need a lot of time to absorb new impressions and accept changes? Then the archetype of the safekeeper is strongly developed in you. The pathological form of this archetype is the avoidant personality disorder. If you know someone who is convinced to be socially awkward, unattractive, and inferior compared to others, who worries way too much about being criticized or rejected in social situations, and who avoids intensive interpersonal contacts, then this archetype is the key to understanding this person. There are two personality archetypes we have not yet dealt with, because they take a special position: the visionary and the guardian. What makes them a bit special is they can be assigned to two temperaments. The visionary belongs to both the melancholic and the phlegmatic temperament. If you have a great vision, and if you are willing to do everything possible to make it come true, because this goal is absolutely the most important thing in your life, then this archetype is strongly present in you. The pathological form of the visionary is the borderline personality disorder. If you know someone who has very intense but unstable relationships that include emotional crisis with their fellow human beings, who sees everything either black or white, who has suicidal thoughts, who doubts that their ideal could ever be realized, then understanding this archetype can help you to deal with this person.
Stop!
We assign the guardian to both the sanguine and the choleric temperament. If you are attentive, vigilant, and cautious, and you identify problems quickly, then this archetype is very pronounced in you. The pathological form of the guardian is the paranoid personality disorder. If you know someone who is suspicious, who tends to misinterpret neutral or friendly actions as hostile or contemptuous, and who is very sensitive to rejection, then take a closer look at this archetype to understand how you should deal with this person. At this point, we want to emphasize again that all archetypes as such are equally valuable and that each of the archetypes has important yet different functions. For example, when a neurosurgeon operates on a patient's brain, they need the accuracy and perfectionism of master craftsmen. They do not need to be able to tell a joke during the operation, but if they have a date after work, they can make good use of the charmer's charisma and humor. Whether their drinks is standing a few inches more to his right or more to his left while telling a joke does not make any difference whatsoever, unless it's part of the joke to knock it over, of course. Which archetype do you identify with most? With which ones least? Or are there several ones that you find suitable? Which archetypes do you find the most difficult to deal with? What are the main archetypes of the most important people in your life? Tell us in the comments. Watch the other videos in this series, as we go into more detail about each archetype, both in its positive qualities and its more difficult aspects. As already mentioned, there are other ways of looking at and structuring the 14 personality archetypes that can be realized by using the metamodel of the psyche according to Stefan Fiebig. If you are interested to learn more about it, please let us know in the comments as well. Maybe we will make videos about personality disorders later, perhaps in an extra channel. Simply subscribe to our channel, and when the time comes we will let you know, or subscribe to the newsletter. Please find the link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Activate the bell to be notified of new videos. See you soon, and thanks for your interest.